All right, we're gonna call this meeting to order. Gavel.
Everybody check your mics and make sure.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hello.
Speak into him, speak into him.
Nope. No, Lisa's gone.
Pull the switch up. There you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right, we're calling this meeting to order, 6:01 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll get a quick roll call this evening.
Thank you. Chair Lawson,
Present.
Vice Chair Barron,
Present.
Lisa Butler,
Present.
Jacqueline Hunt,
Present.
Michael Acciardi.
Present.
And your ex officio this evening is City Council President Russ Sheldon.
Present.
Thank you.
Excellent. Any public comment that was submitted ahead of time via writing, email?
Didn't receive anything ahead of the meeting.
We'd like to open the public comment this evening, other than what's on the agenda here shortly. Anyone? The government. Let the record reflect.
She speaks about as well as most.
I'll try to translate here. I think she wants milk. All right, perfect. No public comment. We'll move right into reviewing last month's, or I guess last meeting minutes. We were not here last month. So it was a pretty dense meeting. If everyone recalls, we'll do a quick rundown of everything. We discussed expanding the EDC from 5 to 7 members, which we motioned to approve unanimously. I believe that then was going to City Council.
Well, it takes a little while because we're gonna rewrite the basis, the basis of the group, right?
That is correct. The resolution that authorized the establishment of the EDC is a little dated in that part of it directly addresses the 2018 economic opportunities analysis. And so you will have done everything on that even since then, but it's time for a refresh, I would say.
Okay. In terms of timing, is there a rough outline of when that would all go through?
I would say, Andy's been, Andy's mentioned to council that you all had kind of taken a vote that you thought it would be a good idea to expand to 7 members instead of just 5. And that kind of triggered the conversation. So as Councilor Sheldon said, we'd be looking at doing that by very end of summer or a little after.
Great, thank you. We discussed the North Plains downtown database, which Lisa put together. Thank you again, Lisa. And we also discussed updating that, how we would go about, I guess, buttoning that up and as things became available in town here. We also had updates from both the downtown and the UGB project advisory committees. Lisa gave an update on the downtown PAC, and I gave an update on the UGB process and PAC. And ultimately went through those updates along with some updates in town here, some local properties, Roll Tide property, which we'll discuss even further today. And we had a few questions, comments at the end just about volunteering, which we can attest to. We were involved with volunteer cleanup day. It was good to see fellow members out there sweat alongside fellow members. It's warm. I think that pretty much covers it. Was there any questions, any topics we'd like to revisit from last meeting minutes?
I think other than maybe next meeting, we can maybe revisit that downtown document.
Mhm.
If we can get that on agenda. and just an FYI, Cindy Hurst actually sent me some information that we can add to that, so I'll try to do that in the meantime before our next meeting.
Thank you, Lisa.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting.
I will second that motion.
Thank you. All those in favor of last meeting's minutes approval, say aye.
Aye.
All those not in favor. You ask me the question, why? All right, we have unanimous approval of the meeting minutes, and we can move right into some new business here. We have our first food service tenant improvement grant application to review. So as a group, we'll take a look. We actually received the application ahead of time here to take a review. We've compiled some questions, really thorough, hard-hitting stuff that we'll get to. So if you don't mind, I think that's probably the microphone we'll use
Yes,
for
and
the Q&A.
both. Trust me, we're a friendly bunch, don't we? Firing squad.
You walked in, we were like, oh no.
So I think it's somewhat informal, just in terms of, I think we'll go ahead and discuss the application, ask some questions that may have come up from us as a group, and then at the end, we'll essentially give our formal recommendation to city staff on if the application should ultimately be accepted, changes, revisions, et cetera.
Yeah, do you mind if I just kind of quickly give a rundown of the program, just to kind of
Yes.
refresh? This is our first, this is our inaugural, so thank you and bear with us, thank you for being here. North Plains Urban Renewal Agency, the board approved this new grant program. And award is competitive. There's a limited number of funds available in the budget for this program. But it's a new program as of April 1st that if businesses who are starting or opening new food service, very specifically, if in the process of tenant improvements inside the space, in order to operate their business specifically for food service, or if it's a building that somebody has purchased and they want to own and operate a new food service business in the city with dining inside, a dining option inside. There's a grant of up to $50,000, typically for a 50% match, to help that new business get over the hump, so to speak, of extraordinary tenant improvement costs. When a business moves into a new building in a new space, the landlord will typically give some tenant improvements as part of the lease agreement, and we'll put those improvements in place, and then the cost is included in the lease rate, basically. But for new food service restaurants, we're putting in some extraordinary things, kitchen equipment and everything that goes with it, among other things. It can be a pretty punitively expensive thing to do, particularly in a community that's really kind of on the upswing, smaller community on the upswing of growth. So this is meant to get folks from the 1 yard line across and across the goal line. So the last step in all this is for our applicants to come before the EDC and for them to just kind of ask questions, learn about your business that you're opening, what you think your challenges are. They'll get into all this specifically, and then this is the last step. They'll present to staff kind of their recommendation after they hear from you, and then we'll contact you very shortly thereafter that.
Perfect.
So thank you.
Thanks, Bill. All right, I'll open it up. If anyone wants to kick us off with questions, we can kind of keep it pretty flexible in terms of how we approach questions. You don't necessarily have to go one by one from each of us if that works for the group. So if there's any questions that we can initially kick it off with, feel free to do so.
First question.
Can- Microphone, please.
That's right. I'd like to ask first question.
Hold the microphone up, please.
And,
Thank you.
we want to express our appreciation of you opening a business in our Plain. So we love that. We love the business that you opened, and we wondered if you have a cooler of taste tests for us.
Not quite that one,
Oh, push the button up so that the green lights.
that helps. Not quite yet. Our machines come in on Friday.
That's amazing.
They won't be up and running yet.
So for the record, we should tell anyone.
So that leads into, do you have a tentative opening date or a timeframe you're trying to hit?
We are trying to hit June 24th, so just over 2 weeks. So really quick.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can hit that with construction, but Zerberg is pushing, so is Dave.
And are there certain, I guess, how are you best trying to get the word out on things like grand opening and updates, things like that? Are there certain marketing channels or avenues you're trying to use for the most part?
Yeah, so we've done the social media, Facebook and Instagram have been our big ones. I did have a meeting with a realtor, last week. She wants to do a flyer in the community that's co-branded, her on one side, us on the other. Part of that, we do want to do, like a $2 off coupon to get, folks in the door and get our name known. We do have a banner up at Glencoe High School as well that says coming soon. Yeah, it does support their girls softball team. But the person who put it up did say he was going to turn it around, so it's facing the street. I received a phone call last night for the Glencoe High School cheerleading, asking if we would support them, and then our information would go on t-shirts and their website and things like that. So we've done our own marketing, but we're definitely having people approach us wanting to do stuff too.
Is that, sorry, I'm kind of hogging the time. Is that type of fundraising and like working with schools, other businesses, is that something you anticipate doing kind of throughout the life of the business?
Absolutely, yeah. We want to support local. We definitely want to get involved with, fundraising for the PTAs and all the surrounding schools, not just right here in North Plains, but, going out to Glencoe with the Evergreen Middle School. We've gotten a lot of people from banks who are very excited too, now that they know. When we advertised for applicants, a large amount was actually from banks. We did definitely have some from North Plains, but banks was pretty heavy in that.
Oh, I wanted to ask, I noticed on your application, you said one of the biggest challenges, well, basically just thriving and that. So especially in North Plains, what do you see as some of the biggest challenges to meeting that goal?
Continuing to thrive.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is going to be supporting the community. I think, North Plains is definitely heavy on supporting local businesses. So we have already partnered with Pilgrim's Roasted Nuts. We will be serving some of them. She's also doing a Cupio exclusive, so we will have a nut flavor over there that she does not offer. I also have a meeting this weekend that we're trying to set up with 26 West Farms. Is that the name? 26 West. We know Melissa over there, so we're talking about serving her berries as they are available, the different seasons. I don't know anything about growing berries, so but she did say they have 5 different ones, and so she's definitely interested in a wholesale account with us as well. So, and we will be having a sign that says, this is 26 West Berries, this is Pilgrim's Roasted Nuts, so people are aware. that we are supporting our local community.
Love that. Well, I'm gonna do a follow-up. So what do you see, I definitely get that, agree with you, and make it known. And what do you see as some of the challenges of being here in the city?
I think it's the size, and I definitely worry about, are we gonna get old? Are people gonna be like, frozen river, that's an old hat now, you know, we'll just pass right on by. That's, I think, our biggest challenge or our biggest worry, but at the same time, I think we'll be able to get through it. You know, we've had so many positive reactions from the community that it's actually quite overwhelming.
It sounds like there's pretty good flexibility with some of your partnerships. With this being a franchise, are there any parameters you're supposed to stick to with things like that, like adding flavors or somehow generating new business?
No, they actually have given us pretty much as much latitude as we want with that. We have to stick with their decor type, you know, their basic outline of what things look like there. But we've also added a few things that they were like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. You know, we have, their whole theme is like hexagons, but we are adding like the hanging ceiling panel, that acoustic panel. Yep, those are hexagon shapes. Our tile is hexagons. So none of their stuff none of their other stores have that, but it is a baby franchise. We are only location number 2.
So kind of piggybacking off of that, with the franchise agreement, what are those terms? Are you like on a 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 year? Like, what is you guys' like ability to make sure that you guys stay, the franchise can't just yank it at any point?
we are permanent with that.
Okay.
Yep, we will be under their name always.
With the business model, especially being a small town, like, as you guys open up your doors, what is the plan for staffing? Is it gonna be self-staffed to begin with? Are you guys looking to hire? And where are you guys going, opening the doors?
We've already hired 4 people.
Congrats.
Thank
That's
you.
huge.
Thank you. We called yesterday and offered 4 people the jobs. I will be there full time. He will be here, or he'll be there after work.
Sleep is for the weak.
Right. So yeah, staff, they're all gonna be part-time, they'll rotate out. They all want about 20 hours or more a week. And so we figured 4 people with as many hours as will be open would be able to give them mostly the hours that they are looking to get.
Can you remind us the hours of operation that you guys will be opening under?
So in the summertime, we are going to be open 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then winter, you know, all the colder months, we're gonna be noon to 9.
Is that everything?
7 days a week.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
With it being, you mentioned winter hours, with it being seasonal in terms of, I'll still eat frozen yogurt in the winter, but
Thank you.
yeah. You'll have mine, and I'm sure everyone here is. Are there certain things you'll try to do, kind of in the down seasons, when it gets cold? Kind of diversifying, or for the most part, just try to, take advantage of the warm months?
I think, you know, we've kind of sort of thought about this. We have to get creative with things. I think doing, again, some fundraisers, maybe auctioning off certain things. Buy tickets, you know, part of that will definitely go to fundraise, and then maybe someone could win something like, and I'm just throwing this out here, could be a number of things, but something like a bike or something like that, where maybe a family, you know, or, you know, we give it to a family in need or something like that. So we have to get creative, but we definitely want to do outreach of some, you know, definitely of some sort throughout the year in one way or another.
With your supply, it sounds like you're gonna do a lot of local, but what about the main source, like the actual dairy for the yogurt itself? Is that gonna be coming from around here? You guys have it coming from the Bend area?
It will be from distributors, and so it will come in, Cisco is one of them, I wanna say some of them are Portland-based. Yokrin, is that?
I think that's Portland.
So it's still surrounding area, we believe, I mean, I don't think that a lot of our stuff is, I think it's gonna come from the East Coast or anything like that. Technically, we created accounts, but we're not looking at their address, I mean, to be honest.
That's good. I think it's more about supply chain. I've seen it too much lately. I hate you guys not to have yogurt when I want to show with my 3-year-old.
We will definitely always have yogurt.
I'm lactose intolerant, won't stop me.
We will have a lactose-free option.
I will tell my wife when I get home tonight that all is safe. Bathrooms.
Is your nearest competition, like when you look around?
Forest Grove.
Yeah.
Oh, Forest Grove, 185th also.
But ours will be better.
With the grant application, I mean, we can see the application, what you guys need the proceeds for. I always like to ask the question, worst case scenario, you say, no grant. What is the backup plan to move forward and make sure operation still opens on the June 24th timeline?
We've got funds that we can dip into. We're just hoping not to.
Yeah.
Because we're using that as reserves, you know, a just in case thing.
Love it. Yeah. Bill, I see you're holding your mic.
I,
Get in on the questions.
no, I think plenty of good questions passed, so I'm just kind of seeing, kind of looking to see if anybody was looking up, so.
I guess I had one, you see yourself being involved in any of the community events like the Garlic Festival, things like that?
If we put a garlic peanut on top. Because we forgot to serve something garlic to be there, which I didn't know until recently, but that's what I was told. So I think Pilgrim's Roasted Nuts has a nut that has garlic on it, so I
You're in.
offer it just as an option and people can take one if they want. I don't know. We're trying to figure that. We would love to be there, but we obviously have to have permission and find a way to do that.
I can have, Patty Burns contact you. She's the head of the North Plains Event Association. She heads the Garlic Festival. She
Yes,
can help you
and
out.
we know Patty.
Yeah, she's the one that would help.
Probably next.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if we'll be able to make it this, we would love to make it this year, but.
You'll
we're gonna
probably be
so-
really busy with your pretty much random, I mean, you'll be just open a month, almost, a little more
Right.
than a month.
Right, and we are planning on having a mobile service where we can be hired for events. Such as weddings, birthday parties, things like that. So. We already have a unit right away, we are trying, I keep saying me, because I'm doing the business part, he's at work.
We want to get our feet wet first, and then move on.
Yes, but we have,
Or move forward.
yes. We have a cart that is available to us, but then there's all those different permits with the health department and individual permits for events versus, you know, an annual fee. That's all stuff that I'm trying to learn as we go. And then, yes, since we're going to be brand new, do we really want to add that right away? We think that might be a little bit too much right at first, so we might look at adding that next year, but.
Anything else, group?
Can I just circle back to your question as far as what we're allowed to do with the franchise?
Yes.
So I feel like I didn't explain that a whole lot. They are giving us as much latitude, so to speak, as we want. We can serve whatever flavors we want, whatever toppings we want. I was approached right after a board meeting, asking if we would serve boba tea. They have given us the approval on that, even though they've never done that. So we will be adding that as well. It was one of those, my kids really love boba tea. Is there any way that you can serve that? But, oh boy, now I have a lot more research to do. And then obviously getting approval and without hesitation, they're like, yep, you can do that. So anything that we want for the most part, which seems really weird for a franchise, they're giving us that much latitude. We get to charge what we want. All of that. So.
Excellent. So really in terms of, it's really just the name, the brand that you're
Yeah.
associating.
Yeah. And they're amazing people. They will be here for a week at our grand opening, helping, making sure everything goes smooth, all of that. So they are on board to help 100%. We're actually going, we were invited to their wedding this weekend, so we're gonna. So that's how amazing they are.
Great. Have you guys already looked into adding signage on the Highway 26 sign, so that way people that are going to the beach see that you're there too?
Yes, that is something that we definitely looked into and we want to do. Obviously, we have to wait until we're open because we don't want people taking the exit and being like, oh, yeah, that was a waste of time. So we definitely want to put it on both sides.
Just so you know, we have advertising in the city newspaper too.
Wonderful.
Goes out the water.
Yeah, it comes out in your water bill, or online, and, your first, as a new business, you get a discount on your first month's advertising. So
That's
you
great.
can talk to me about that later.
Okay, perfect.
When you're ready.
I think we're gonna advertise for the Elks Club as well. We just talked to them last weekend, or last week.
Yeah, there's a lot of different avenues that we have looked into and or been approached by. So it's like one door after another just keeps opening and opening and opening. And so we just feel like this is what was meant to be for us here in North Plains, so.
I think our last kind of topic would just be if there's anything this group can do for you. We like to kind of think of ourselves as the liaison for small businesses in the city. If there's certain topics we can help tackle or questions we can just help get answered. We might not know as a group, but we can help find the answer and help facilitate things. Is there anything initially you think of that we might be able to help with, or if it's down the road, we can obviously cross that bridge when we get there.
Any questions?
Not right now.
I submitted our business application a while ago, and I never did hear anything back that we were even approved to open. I just assumed.
Your business license, you
Yeah.
need? I put it in the mail. You should. I
Approved.
yeah, trust me, it's approved, and
Okay.
and
We're
there
all
was no
showing up.
on it, because I knew when you were approximately opening. If you don't have it by this Friday in the mail, please contact me. I don't know how long you've lived here, but the mail in this town, the post office is questionable at best. And we sent it right out of this post office, so
Okay. Recently?
to your PO box. I believe it was like the end of last week,
Oh, okay. It
so.
wasn't like a month ago.
No,
Okay.
but you would think, if I sent it like last Thursday, you would have had it by Monday,
To do this.
but. Especially it's PO box,
Right,
yeah, you
right.
have to walk around, but anyway, so please, like I said, if you don't get it by Friday. Contact me,
Okay, for sure.
I'll handle it or
And then you guys said you were available, so that's wonderful if I'm not gonna know who to reach out to. He's not gonna know to reach out to, which one of you.
Air traffic control.
So just email Bill,
Bill.
everything.
Yep.
Okay, and then you'll get us to the right place if necessary.
Yes, I can look at that.
Okay. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Do you want him to talk at all? Because I've done it.
How you doing?
I thought it was gonna still look good and just sit there quietly like a husband's supposed to.
Well, that's what I told him. I go, honey, I'm doing a lot of this, so just come and sit and look pretty. That's what I tell him all the time. Just sit and look pretty.
There's gonna be a lot of overtime with my other job.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
All right, I think, sounds like we're at a pretty good consensus in terms of, moving forward with the application. We'll go ahead, I'll motion to approve, the tenant improvement application for Grow Expectations. Second,
Great expectation.
Can you put it in the form of a recommendation to city?
we recommend the city staff,
There you go.
the approval of Growth Expectations tenant improvement application. Seconded.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous?
Unanimous.
Close board records.
Request that if awarded, that we have an update from you at some point, like at your first quarter or first 6 months about how you're doing against your sales target.
We would be happy to provide that.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, thank you for your time. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We
Look
appreciate
forward to the
it.
24th.
Yeah.
Yes.
Us too. We're hoping it doesn't get pushed.
So next up, we'll go to the council, or staff. I think we'll go straight to staff. So Bill, next step to go straight to staff. Staff. That's correct.
And then will you email PDC with staff?
Final. Yeah, we do. Good. Awesome. Thank you. Excellent. We'll move right along. Second item of new business, something, just as interesting, discussion on code requirements for commercial parking.
A minute, from yogurt.
Code requirements. I think was that something you wanted to run down really quick?
Or is that you folks back there that got to listen to talk about the frozen yogurt? You want to come have a seat, and before you leave tonight, I'll have you fill out one of these too, just so that I've got your contact information.
Some of the folks know us, they did some sweat equity for us.
Yes, they did.
Talking. I'm not even well, I'm not her husband. I'm a husband. I know that it's.
He's my general contractor, also known as my big brother. So there you go. I take free labor wherever I can get it.
Volunteer general contractor.
So, for those that don't know me, Kathy Bishop, we bought what is known as the old Rusty Piston. So that is going to be a antique collectible shop at some point in time. And Doug's been helping us through some of the process. And again, when we're looking at some of the code, some of the requirements are very, very difficult for a company that's, trying to start in an existing building. If you were starting from scratch, and again, I'd love to think that we needed 11 parking spots at all times, but I don't think our business is going to be booming like that. So, again, looking at the requirements of meeting the C2 for parking, very challenging. So we have had to then ask for a variance, which again adds cost. So another, $750 in order to ask for the variance for that change. And, it's again going to be 8 parking spots that we're required to put in, as well as trying to put landscaping on that when most of the building space is city property outlining 2 sides and the railroad in the back. So, we're challenged to meet the code. And again, for a small business, some flexibility or grandfathering, would be a nice recommendation, to have the code dated. Anything you wanted to add?
Well, when you're starting out and trying, like Kathy said, well, we like to say our project is putting lipstick on a pig. It's trying to make an old building fit new code. It is tough. Not only do you have to satisfy first the business and land use requirements for North Plains, then we need to do some building remodeling, so that's through Washington County. And so that's more permits and paperwork to do. And then on top of all that, we still have to satisfy clean water services. And since the previous owner really hadn't done anything, you learn that gravel parking lots are non-permeable and they don't like that. And with all the room being taken for parking, there's really no room for bioswales. And I don't think my sister has money to put in a bioswale.
So you
So
were gonna.
anyway, yeah, it's, well, and then you only get, as the code goes, you only get one variance per application, and who knows if somebody doesn't like the landscaping or our bicycle rack. We're back in the whole thing again. It's taken a lot of just time and paperwork to get us, and we still don't really have our approval yet. She bought the building back in November. So yeah, it seems kind of onerous in the whole process. Hopefully this week we'll have all of our stuff together, but it's been that challenge. And, for what we're trying to do, it really doesn't seem like that much. Just trying to get the building presentable for an antique business.
Just one other thing that, again, we've had great support from many people and, you guys included. But again, when trying to meet the code and then looking at what the business was there, I can tell you that they weren't meeting anything. So, it almost encourages companies to not want to do things the right way. And that's not what we need in the city of North Plains. I mean, the reason for us to do this is a lot more than for us. This business is to support the community, which we are a part of and have lived here for over 25 years. So we really want to make this successful, but it's getting very, very challenging to keep it moving forward.
That really isn't even including all the stuff that you don't need permits for, like replacing broken doors, roofs that haven't been repaired or the maintenance hasn't been kept up on. Furnace was debunked.
No hot water.
No hot water. Concrete walls don't hold heat very well. I think the R factor is -2. So there's a lot of challenges and stuff outside of getting the permits and trying to get the business up and running.
That's all we have.
Well, I thought I might bring a little context to why their situation is so unique too. There is a exemption for parking requirements for existing commercial buildings in the C1 zone. Everything around their property is zoned C1. They are in very close proximity to that downtown commercial district, and they happen to be zoned C2. So all of those exemptions that they would have gotten are not applied to that property because that one plot is zoned C2. And there's a lot of arbitrary zoning throughout our zoning map in the city. And that is something that could also be corrected along with us taking a deeper look into what a good requirement for parking spaces for a business, especially in a downtown where we're trying to prioritize other modes of transportation. How big should that parking space be? How many parking spaces should we require a business to have? And could we have some sort of metric for motorcycle or bicycle spaces in exchange for some of those parking spaces to make businesses be able to enable businesses to use the actual property they bought for their business instead of just for car storage?
So in terms of the process of updating code like that, I can imagine it's not an incredibly easy or quick turn process.
Is it all city code too? Is there any county? Or is it all city?
Great question, it's all city. And the planning commission would be the body that goes through the process of looking at this.
So we make the recommendation to planning.
I think that there could be communication along with the business that we have a case study in really what spot zoning. I personally don't know what the history of this property, but it does seem odd that we would have this one corner parcel with an older building on it. With what used to be the highway commercial zone, C2 is now general commercial. But it's now general commercial, but it used to be called highway commercial, and it's a very broad. But it's meant to be a zoning designation that captures businesses that generate a lot more traffic and parking need. So it does kind of feel like a mismatch. So, being so close to kind of the downtown core right on commercial. So little things that I think, we can talk to the planning commission and kind of take a look at. There may be instances where we have an older existing building and it's technically in downtown. Should it be kind of the C1 zone and what can anything be done on the parking issue? Since it seems this is a lot more in line with, kind of being a downtown business rather than a Glen Cove Road type business. But we would need to communicate with that body that this is a challenge, potential issue or a realized issue.
So the role of this group versus planning commission. Awareness seems really important for this group, so we're wanting to support economic development. Knowing that we have silly things out there like the zoning that are making people who are trying to make improvements, which might be considered blight properties now, exactly what we want. Struggle seems a problem, but what we can do is express outrage. But it has to go to planning commission.
Yeah, the planning commission is the body that reviews and recommends or works on changes to zoning code. So there are, that would just basically be a communication to planning commission that, we heard from this business, the business could appear before the planning commission for comment. And given that we have a brand new adopted downtown plan, and we're, moving forward with new things in order to foster more interest in business investment downtown, particularly on commercial. It would be a good time to kind of, see if the planning commission, would more specifically kind of dig into this in particular.
Would we, as another committee within the city, do we technically public comment, or we have a different avenue to get on the agenda for the discussion?
I don't technically know how that would happen. I mean, you would be able to. I mean, remember, the planning commission's job is, it really kind of is more.
I would rather us go as the economic development committee opposed to just Chris Barron showing up saying, hey, this seems silly.
It would be handled in a way that it's clear that the economic development committee would like to, ask the planning commission to take a look at this from an economic development perspective. I mean, remember the EDC's The EDC and the planning commission are different. The planning commission kind of goes through, official land use decisions and recommendations and works on the comprehensive plan and zoning code. This body is, really you get to be more of an advocate for things. You're not making official recommendations or decisions that you send to city council. You send recommendations to city council to consider things that might be issues, but you get to be an advocate, because you're not making the same types of decisions like the planning commission does. So, you could come before the planning commission, and kind of talk about this and say, this is, looks like this is an obstacle for a small business, and is there anything that can be done, in that, with the zoning code or what have you, to kind of avoid, things like this happening, because older buildings are challenging.
I want to ask a question to you, Kathy. What is the time frame that you need hopefully some kind of decision on this regarding permit?
I think for us, we're already moving forward, asking for variance, and trying to get it through. So, anything would help if it could happen fast, but by the sound of it, that's not going to be the case. So if we get turned down based on, what we've submitted again, how come we done? Then, then we would need more assistance. But I think at this point, we're going to try to push through and just keep it moving. But for other business, this needs to change.
My comment I was gonna say to the group too is, this kind of opens our eyes with our other properties on that same stretch of road that have that same zoning issue, that we should actually go to the planning commission with a bigger topic, which is, hey, we have a lot of miscoding that's keeping people from being able to expand the economics in their business, which just makes sense.
But for right now, the parking is the issue, but if that code were changed in the future, that would allow us to maybe do more landscaping, which the city is real big on also.
Yeah.
So it could still help us, but it's kind of water under, we think it's water under the bridge right now for us.
Clean water versus under bridge. Can you clarify this lot is or is outside the urban renewal district?
It's within, it's right on commercial.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that another avenue of support? So that's another group. Can you educate me a little bit on what our I've been with a little bit. I just went to the training.
The issue that they're mentioning and that really kind of, the urban renewal agency wouldn't have any ability to do anything about the underlying zone parking issue. The urban renewal agency is really kind of, it's a capital fund. It really is meant to be for capital projects or other types of projects that lead to new construction bricks and mortar, actual physical nuts and bolts construction. So it's like a capital fund. This is really a land use planning zoning issue.
a legislative matter.
Yeah.
But what I heard though was you have a parking lot that isn't up to code. We have maybe bioswales, we need landscaping, those were the things I was picking up on. Here we have someone who's taken a blighted property and is needing to make investments that are not necessarily inside the building, but are around the building. Is there any, does that fit into the urban renewal plan? Is there any capital opportunities there?
There isn't presently a program funded by the urban renewal district that could help with any of those costs. The tenant improvement grant program that targets new food service businesses within the urban renewal district, that's brand new, but that's the only kind of program we have that officially kind of directs and puts rules on public partnership with a private business.
There's gonna be a mobile yogurt stand.
So, but, you know, that, the urban renewal agency staff can explore, you know, what kind of programs there are and what the urban renewal agency can potentially do, but right now on the books, there isn't, you know, a business assistance program for those sorts of things through the urban renewal district.
So maybe a recommendation would be hard.
And I might add too, that, even if there isn't an existing urban renewal program for those types of capital improvements, it still would be of interest to the urban renewal agency to have limitations to setting up new construction and new businesses within the boundaries of the urban renewal area. Should be within their interest to make it easier to develop in that area. It is very hard for me to keep a level-headed and neutral perspective on this. I strongly believe that parking mandates are an inhibitor to businesses and setting up new businesses. But if we look at this from a purely objective perspective, which we can do, there is data that supports lessening parking requirements. There is data that supports that. There are real world examples of cities rolling back their parking requirements or just lessening them even by a little bit and having good results, having more taxable, valuable land that isn't just dedicated towards vehicles. So when we make that recommendation, we should definitely focus on the objective facts of why we should lessen our parking requirements.
Thank you, Doug. So let me summarize what I heard, and then maybe you can run with some kind of, recommendation to staff, or what have you. But what I'm hearing are two things, starting with the latter. It sounds like there is interest in, asking or, suggesting to the urban renewal agency that, and follow up to the tenant improvement grant program, or is there any kind of program that might be available for extraordinary site improvement costs? So that's the first issue. The latter brought up. The second one would be some sort of recommendation or suggestion to communicate, work with the planning commission on examining either the zoning of this property or parking requirement, whatever the zoning, along commercial in the downtown area. That's what I'm hearing. Two different moving parts there. So I just kind of wanted to describe that, describe it in those, in that manner.
Perfectly summarized.
What I'm wondering is, in going to the planning commission, I would like have Doug help prepare something that is thoughtful. We expressed outrage and advocacy, but there's been a lot of work already done. And I don't want that to slow down this particular request. So I'm looking for a little bit of guidance on the recommendation. Is it a two-step process to the planning commission? We'd like to, at next meeting, support this particular project while we pull together? Or are we ready to go with the whole proposal, with the whole backpack of how we see the situation and why things change?
I don't think it would be difficult to get on the agenda with the planning commission as new business and talk, and present information about this with this particular example. I don't think you need to pull together comprehensive research on the topic and recommend to the planning commission a solution. I can tell you they're gonna want to look at it themselves. But I think you can come and say, this is what we heard. We know this is an obstacle to new business investment in our downtown. And since we have this brand new downtown plan and it's a new emphasis for the city, you know, we like this to be included in some of the zoning code reexamination that we've been doing, that sort of thing. I guess is how I would put it, but that can be done sooner rather than later, certainly.
Is there any motions that we need to make to like get these things in?
I don't, maybe just, you can do it through motion if you'd like, just to kind of, you know, two different recommendations you'd like to, or, you know, two different communications you'd like to make from the EDC, that sort of thing.
Make a motion that the EDC appears before the planning commission to make a recommendation to the old rusty distance site zoning.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Approved. Well, I guess we will discuss as a group too, who physically will represent the committee, potentially in the next meeting. Perfect.
That's next Wednesday.
And quick question. Oh.
Okay, because that's.
Okay. So that's the first topic.
Just got the motion for the second one.
I make a motion that the EDC, attend the urban renewal, actually, we have a person, you go to that one?
You're on that one.
I'm on the downtown improvement. Downtown
Okay.
committee, yeah. So downtown or, which is actually somewhat sunset, well,
So Council Sheldon is also the chair of the Urban Renewal Board. So let's.
Please. So, here's. I made some notes and because the URA agency doesn't meet regularly, I would suggest that you come to council, pick, get 3 minutes, pick one of you, come in and make your recommendation to council. That way we can consider that, we can schedule a URA agency meeting and we can look into that. So that would be the right procedures to get that done.
I can volunteer to be. I make a motion that Lisa goes to the city council representing the EDC to request consideration of the urban renewal program support for this case. I think in general, I think the recommendation that we need a tenant improvement grant that, like Bill said, is for extraordinary cleanup or renovation efforts on a site. In the URA, something along those lines.
Add those together into one motion. And I'll second. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Approved, we'll have representation at potentially the next city council meeting as well. 20th.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
It looks like the planning commission have a work session this next Wednesday. Do you know what the topic is?
It's full, it's a public hearing on the new, Far West warehouse building.
Yeah, we can't make that one.
Yeah,
Sorry, yeah, that's a very busy.
yeah, that's a 600-page agenda in case you want to read it ahead of
No.
time, if you want to show up, just so you know. So, I would suggest that we consider the July meeting, which I think is the,
It should be the 6th,
nope,
it'd be the 5th.
nope, it's the next week. Oh, for planning,
Tuesday, I think.
12th.
would be the
second Wednesday.
First Monday. Is the first Monday the 5th? Or the 3rd?
The third, first Monday's the third,
Yeah.
so the second Wednesday is the 12th for planning commission.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Unfinished business. Some of these topics we can also, if we want to drill down into further detail, probably discuss next month as well. But things like downtown property updates.
I think that was decent. So she's kind of managing that project.
Were there any further updates there?
I don't, I'm trying to, since our last meeting, I don't believe.
You're the one that was in the year.
Yes, oh, well, that's true. In terms of our spreadsheet that we're putting together, Cindy did some more detail for the
Cindy Hurst did.
city first, that we can add to that file. And so the recommendation is if we can, to look at it maybe for about 10 minutes in our next meeting.
Yeah.
And Cindy said she would be at some point happy to come and talk about how we can coordinate as committee with the chamber to try to do some outreach.
Do you want to plan on that for the next meeting? Oh, wait a minute, we need to talk about the next meeting, because that's the week of July 4th.
Right, so that's a good point. Yeah, the first Wednesday of July is the 5th, and that would be the day after what amounts to for many probably a 4-day weekend. So I don't know, there normally is a month off. So we kind of just want to throw it out there if you'd like July, think about how you want to do that. I know we've missed a couple of months because of budget committee specifically. So it's been kind of a weird schedule lately for EDC. But the first meeting of July would be Wednesday the 5th.
Well, and you can look at another date in the month if you want. You just have to look at the other.
Yeah.
Planning, parks and council meetings.
Sounds like we have a lot of good stuff.
Would it be a bad thing to have it on, June 28th, right before the beginning of July?
Is there anything that says we can't have to do it a month?
No, nothing at all. You can meet every other day if you want. I mean,
No.
We can have yogurt.
Yeah. Awesome. Offsite meeting?
field trip,
28th work for everyone's schedule.
that's a one thing, right?
Yeah, no other meetings.
Nothing else on the calendar.
I just looked at the
We just
calendar.
have, like you said, a lot of motions that have items behind them. But
True.
A month off just seems like it'll be a long time.
Any conflicts or
Looking now.
20, what did you say, 20?
26th.
20,
June 28th.
Wednesday, June 28th?
Portland visit Q2 review. Yeah. I'm available.
I'm available,
I'm
I'm
good.
an all-day event with my compliance officer, so I'll be.
Great move, so we'll plan on moving up the July meeting to.
Okay,
UGB update. Sounds like Monday evening.
Monday night, first reading of the ordinance for the urban growth boundary expansion, and council unanimously voted approval of it after nearly 2 hours of testimony. Won't get into the weeds on that. It was an interesting evening, but yeah, unanimous approval by council. So second reading of the ordinance for the new urban growth boundary will be at the next meeting on Tuesday, June 20th. And then process moves forward. Andy wanted to pass a thank you to the EDC for your thoughtful and comments and time at the planning commission hearing regarding recommendation of approval of the UGB, new UGB. So he was impressed that you supported that one. So there you go.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Rebecca.
Question, any updates on the CHIPS Act?
Where's that money at?
And it was actually the business org and DLCD came to town this morning to in part talk about that. The rules are rapidly being written. And things are evolving in a manner, it's a long story, we should probably get into the weeds on the 28th if we can. But the bottom line is that, North Plains is still very much what the Business Oregon representative said was in the hunt for some of the major funding. For a larger employer or set of employers, with or without additional land being brought in to the UGB beyond what the city's already doing. There's no guarantee that the governor's gonna come along and say, we want even more acreage than what you're already adding. That we don't know what's gonna happen. We're moving forward with our UGB expansion as is, but North Plains and Hillsborough are very much at the top of the list, so just, stay tuned, and we're working, we'll see, but we're working on it.
Maybe the other question or topic I'd like to consider on the 20th is the next step after the UGB is, called.
Well, ultimately, the UGB, the city doesn't have a new urban growth boundary until the state recognizes
But if
it.
we assume that goes through, then the next big step of the city is to do the planning phase that's called.
So, well, the concept planning phase, that begins this summer. That's starting before the state officially recognizes a new UGB, that we'll be starting working on the scope and content right now with ODOT to do all that work.
And so there'll be a concept planning group.
Yeah, a consultant or a group of consultants will be selected by the city to do the work, and ODOT will fund it.
And is there a role for EPC?
There will be another advisory committee. And we will be looking for EDC representation on that. This one will be more about, what goes where, what does it look like? What are the, what's compatible next to each other? What needs to be done to make uses compatible next to each other? Where are the major roads gonna go? How are we gonna keep working on that? And like the real detail. Yeah, that's not a bad way to put it. This is kind of where tougher decisions have to be made, but it's really in the interest of getting everything right.
Last item of unfinished business was just the budget update.
Yeah, I was gonna spend a little bit of time now talking about some things, but what I wanted to highlight was, so on Monday night, council formally adopted the new biennial budget 23-25. And there are some items in the new budget that affect, or the EDC will be involved in. I was just gonna kind of run down a few. So we'll get into that, talk more in detail later, but there's a new boards and commissions department, first of all. And there's a modest bit of budget in there for education and training for the EDC. So we'll continue to kind of look for different seminars and other things to kind of get you up to speed on things like urban renewal and things like that. So we formally we a bit more formally budgeted for some of that there. There's the other big thing I want to point out is that the urban renewal agency plan, the urban renewal plan is going to need to be updated. We're going to have to do a substantial amendment. And we budgeted for that to happen in the next 2 years, probably sooner rather than later. And for a few different reasons. The district dates back to, it started in 2007. And when a district is established, it has 20 years to borrow money and do projects, and we only have a few years left. And so with the UGB expansion happening, and with this new downtown plan, and with kind of a change in emphasis of some of the projects for downtown and on Glencoe, we're gonna work on amending the plan, improving it, putting new projects in, and doing work around that. So that'll be coming up too, and probably the next year, not the second year of the plan. So we can get into the
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it's probably good to dive in further into that. Okay, excellent. Last couple items was just in our agenda packet, land use applications, community development report. The development report is, I think, good for us to get up to speed on. everyone has time to kind of comb through that a little bit. Any other questions, topics we need to cover, or things you'd like to add to next month or end of this month's meeting?
An update on the development of the Caber and Glencoe area, the fresh grocers, the hardware store, that.
Yes, the developer of that, was at the meeting this morning to go over what the challenges have been with Business Oregon. They are still very committed to the project. What they're working on now is, they've gotten cost bids back on preparing the site, clearing the site of soils, that are ridiculous. And, I mean, flat out ridiculous cost numbers, like think it's the project cost level. And the reason is because for two different reasons. Number one, contractors, the contractors who, there weren't very many contractors who bid on this because it was kind of, it's like the developer said, you go through cycles of begging to try to get one or two bids, and then things slow down in a manner, and contractors all of a sudden are looking around scrambling for new projects, and you'll get 8 to 10 bids. They're pulling some new information from some new bids because they're kind of at that point in the cycle of who they've been talking to. But what they've gotten so far have been ridiculous costs to remove the soil and dispose of it. Because despite the studies that have been done, there's still costing going on that assumes contaminated soil needs to be removed, hauled to Hillsborough and disposed of at cost. Ordinarily, if you have clean soil, you can scrape it and a farmer will take it, but you can't do that with soil that's quote unquote contaminated. So Business Oregon's Brownfield program is agreed to meet and help figure out why the cost bids are ridiculous. Otherwise, there's still, all the tenants are still in place. They even have a couple new ones they said, so.
Okay. Anything else? Councilor Sheldon, anything, some wise words you can share with us?
No, I don't think so. I mean, certainly, as far as deliberation goes here, I do recommend that you, when you have a recommendation short of a direct one, become the council. As a unit, it speaks volumes. So, that's the whole point of this committee. I mean, this committee started with basically 3 of us several years ago wanting to have an economic development committee when we didn't have one. So we knew that was a function that had to go forward. And so we got it in place. And I would just encourage you to continue that progress. Ask the questions, come when you have a recommendation, and don't be afraid to reach out. Obviously, probably Bill is the direct source at the staff level. You can always talk to any of the counselors. We're always open to talk to, but they typically are going to have a pulse on everything that's going on currently. We've got a lot in store. We have a lot of work to do. There's a lot of directions to go. The work's by a long shot over, but in terms of the existing businesses, and that is discussion I had with Cindy, that because I'm involved in the chamber as well, is that we need to do some outreach to our existing businesses. And we had a format developed for that. And it could be changed a bit, but we didn't want to complicate it too much. We wanted to go out and ask businesses 3 or 4 direct questions, borrow a half hour of their time, and get some feedback so that we could bring it back and see not only as a chamber, but how the city, and the idea was to have participants from the city and the chamber. In this case, it would be the city. That could be simply either one staff and somebody from the EDC and somebody from the chamber. We don't want to overwhelm anybody. We would set appointments ahead of time. We kind of got that plan together. And I think she wants to speak to that. I know it's something we've had a desire to do for some time, to listen, just listen to people. And sometimes it's interesting what you can learn. So I would encourage that going forward. And hopefully we can kind of get that over the hump because it's something we wanted to do. And I think it sounds like this group wants to do that, and that outreach is important. So other than that, no, I'd say stay the course. Learn all you can learn. It's not an easy, uncomplicated subject. And it is intertwined with the Urban Renewal Agency. So, you know, there's things that we can do. It will take some development, and some time to do. That's really all I would have for tonight.
Thank you for being here this evening too. All right, if there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and call this meeting adjourned, 7:16 p.m.
That was official.